I think it's brilliant that you guys are going to look at the bottom line benefit, but what other implications are there, in terms of diversity, given that this landscape, the tone, society is probably going to change?
One of the interesting things about working in equality and diversity is it doesn't necessarily matter which party is in. They may use different language. So they may refer to, like the Mayor of London will talk about equal life chances for all, or they may call it an inclusion agenda. But as long as we know that within that we are still talking about those groups who are prone to discrimination, and we're still aware of those groups that need to be targeted or supported, we work with the language. Don't let that be a barrier to you, as long as we can still go forward with that agenda. So I think we're confident that it will be on the agenda. With a change in government, there may just be a change in terminology. And certainly we're working with that at the moment.
If you want to diversify a workforce, your recruiters must be trained not to discriminate and to follow good practice in recruiting.
We need to get very specific about how are you going to ensure you bring us create a diverse pool as possible for us to pick the best people. So we have to be specific. We can't leave anything to chance. So I think that's a really valid point.
What, if any, initiatives can the design community itself take to enhance its kind of diverse, the makeup of itself?
As a Sector Skills Council, just listening to Sai's presentation, I mean, he was really describing the idea of having apprentices and also people training on the job. And one way of diversifying is to think very differently about how you recruit. I mean, could you take on a 16-year-old or 18-year-old, teach them, work alongside? There is a design apprenticeship framework which we're revising at the moment, and that does give you a very different sense. You're getting an employee who is probably going to be very loyal and stay and isn't looking to move on after a year or two, as a Oxbridge graduate may well.
We just spent ages trying to find 16, 17, 18-year-olds who you can actually train, because I thought the same thing, that, forgive me, a lot of the other Eastern European Labour started going back to Poland, the countries are doing well and so on and so forth. A lot of the older Labour doesn't want to move from where. So we thought, let's approach the schools, colleges, let's see if there's any scheme out there that we could tap into for apprentices. And we had one, a 16-year-old, lasted about a month. He had problems with his girlfriend and everything else. And there was so, I don't know where I mean, it's like the YTS scheme of 15 years ago. Send them to me. I need 10 or 15 apprentices, but where do you find them?
I think there's a two-pronged approach there as well. I mean, you talked about the industry embrace and diversity, but it's got to start at home as well. Now, my parents didn't encourage me. They encouraged me to do well at whatever I do. But is it a lack of knowledge? I'm just asking the question, how do you educate the first generation? My mum and dad came over in the 50s. Did they really know what a creative industry was? They probably didn't. So it's probably a time issue as well, because now if I have children, I'll be encouraging them to go into the creative industry. It's a prosperous industry, and Britain will thrive in that industry.